If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 274 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on February 8th of the year 2026 with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you today. Thank you. Another yap session of fluent Yankee Japanese coming your way here on Super Bowl Sunday. Obviously, that is the main concentration for today, most likely, when it comes to talking to just about anybody about sports today. This is always, as it is every year, the biggest concentration. So, just so you all know, when it comes to timing, I am recording this well before the game begins, hours before. So, I've usually always done that. In years past, I've recorded this show on Super Bowl Sunday many times. I know better than to release it as people are pre-gaming for the game even hours before, but I do enjoy releasing it after the fact, which is what I will be doing yet again tonight. I do very much enjoy releasing the Yapping Yankees episodes each Super Bowl Sunday after the Super Bowl is done to celebrate the fact that baseball is officially up next.
This is where the fun begins.
That's right, Anakin Skywalker. Well, also, depending on your Yankees frustration, depends what your definition of fun is, but that's besides the point. But yeah, that's usually the mentality I want to put out there the second that football is done, because I am that jerk who likes to do that every year whenever I record on Super Bowl Sunday. Sometimes I have not recorded on Super Bowl Sunday, but every single time I have, that is what I usually go about doing every year, just being absolutely obnoxious. So I do hope that you all had yourselves a nice week. I cannot believe that it's February. I can't, I can't believe it. Almost as much as I cannot believe how much this winter is probably the worst one in at least 10 years. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. We have reached record consecutive days under freezing 32 Fahrenheit. I think we reached that a few days ago, maybe about a week and a half ago. I don't know. We hit somewhere between like 13 and 15 days in a row where it was well under freezing, which I think rivaled the previous record set in like 1961 or something like that. So we're seeing record lows in temperature that we have never seen before. We had the one big snowstorm a few weeks back that we spoke about as I was doing an episode that same weekend, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And the snow is still here, nowhere near done being melted. Well, how could it? If the sun's not on it, how could it melt with these conditions? So there's that. So we had that one big snowstorm and a few little bouts of smaller snowfalls otherwise since maybe December or so. Even one just a day or two ago had another snowfall Friday into yesterday. So that was only about an inch or two, but still it's just snow constantly because precipitation comes around. And as long as it's not freezing, not even freezing, I should say, 32 Fahrenheit, it's going to be snow. So this crap sucks. So my disbelief as to how ass this winter has been so far is very much rivaled by my disbelief that it is February. Both of them I just can't believe. Also, as I usually do each year once February comes around, though, I like to start giving my continued countdowns of when to expect everything as far as big baseball events and dates to remember in the coming weeks. So just so you guys are aware, as of today, we are 3 days away from Yankees pitchers and catchers reporting to Florida. Yay! We are also exactly 1 week away from all position players otherwise reporting to Florida on February 15th.
Give me a hell yeah!
Yes, sir. We are also 12 days away from February 20th, which is the Yankees' first spring training game on the road against the Orioles.
Holy crap!
And just so everybody knows, that game is going to be on the Gotham Sports app only, not on Yes, which is just slightly disappointing considering the Gotham Sports app is literal hot garbage as an application. It's true. If you want to see the first game on Yes, it'll be the following day on Saturday, February 21st, when the Yankees face the Tigers at GMS. That game will be on Yes. As far as other notable upcoming days, we have 24 days until the World Baseball Classic's first day.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
Even on the second to last Yapping Yankees episode of this format, it's never too late to add new sound effects to the arsenal. Sir Alec Guinness from A New Hope, I love that. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people out there, some people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, it's become a little bit more favorable to the general Major League Baseball community in the last couple of years, if I had to say. But I know some people out there don't care for the Classic, but I've made it more than clear that I absolutely love it, so I can't wait for it. But yeah, certainly a name we don't hear after a while, considering it only happens once every few years or so. So it's good to have it back, and I cannot wait for it this time around. USA, Japan, and Dominican Republic are going to be cracked out. It's going to be wild. And last but certainly not least, we have 45 days until opening day for our Yankees. Yeah, and this year, in case you don't happen to know about it personally, it's very weird that how Major League Baseball scheduled the Yankees opening day. So it's going to be on Wednesday, March 25th, before anybody else starts traditionally, and it's going to be only available on Netflix as Major League Baseball just continues this streaming rager that they're on. It's only getting worse and worse every year. I don't know what the deal is with this. Like, I even saw Mets and Pirates the next day. Like, they're only available on NBC and Peacock. Like, it says watch on Peacock on the top. Like, bro, what are you what are you doing, MLB? Well, I know what they're doing, but still, what are they doing? And then, so the Yankees are off on Thursday after that, and they play on Friday and Saturday, the 27th and the 28th, and then they're off on Sunday, the 29th. Oh, my God. Talk about messed up scheduling. Jeez, so yeah, that's really, really odd. And just the day before, the Yankees are going to be playing their last spring training game against the Cubs, and then the next day they got to go over to San Francisco to open the season against the Giants in San Fran on a weird Wednesday night with they're the only ones playing at 8:05 Eastern. So regardless, despite that huge diatribe and just more of my ADD kicking in as a result, that is the plan for the Yankees opening up the season with that messed up scheduling. So 45 days until then. I personally cannot friggin' believe that. There's a lot I can't believe to start this Yapping Yankees episode. You know what else I can't believe is something that I just mentioned very briefly a couple of minutes ago, and that is the fact that this is the second to last Yapping Yankees episode of this traditional pre-taped podcasting format. I know I've been saying that the last bunch of episodes, but listen, it's very surreal. We are not far off from having done 300 episodes of this show. How many podcasts do you know I've done that many episodes consistently for as many years as this one has gone on? It's not very common, and listen, I'm very proud of it. I am. I very much enjoyed doing it for the last 7 years. It's been freaking awesome, and I'm very much looking forward to going to live streaming. Will I miss this to a degree, doing it in this sort of way, my content? Yeah, I probably will. But there are a lot of exciting possibilities and aspects about live streaming that I am very much looking forward to doing. And I'll probably have, I know I did say today was going to be the last social media segment. It probably will be in regards to just Yankees social media questions or polls or whatever. But next week I'll probably just put out like a general question about live streaming opinions and what you guys think about how I should go about things, when I should go about things, just asking for opinions and just picking your brains, gauging some thoughts out there. So I'll probably do that for the next and final episode of this format. So keep your eyes tuned to Twitter or X, depending on what you want to call it, for that, since that's where I usually post the social media segments each episode. And then that'll be that, guys, in a couple of weeks, which is, it's really hard to believe. It's absolutely insane. So February 22nd, as we've said for the last couple episodes now when I timed it out, February 22nd will be the final Yapping Yankees episode of this format before I soiree into live streaming, which that'll probably start around opening day-ish, or maybe at the start of April. I haven't exactly decided yet. That's when I remind you to just stay tuned to my social medias. Of course, other than if you're not already close with me in like my personal life or something, to where I would just update you on that myself if you're curious. But if you're not, then obviously social media is your avenue to stay up to the minute with updates on that. So again, I'll just do a shameless social media plug just on the subject. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero, NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. My Instagram handle is MikeScuds97, and I'll usually post updates on my story on there, if anything. But usually I'll opt for Twitter or X, since that's like the best platform to just post like up-to-the-minute updates on just about anything. So that'll be your avenue for the latest updates on my plans for live streaming. But right now, just vaguely, those are the plans that I have. If in 2 weeks I have more specific plans, I will let you know on the final Yapping Yankees episode. But that's the plan as of now, is to start late March, early April with the live streaming. It'll probably be weekly, similarly to how I released Yapping Yankees episodes throughout the years during the season on a weekly basis. And it'll take off from there, and we'll see how it goes. Just as a reminder, it will be happening on YouTube exclusively. If and when the live streaming does grow very, very wild and I become more accustomed to doing it and I find out even cooler ways to maybe live stream to more than one platform at once, and not just YouTube or just Twitter or just any platform out there. And maybe if, I get more of an upgrade of equipment as it goes along, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. A lot of it's just taking it week by week and seeing where it takes me. So we'll see when that begins. And the more clear details I have as the weeks continue to go along, I will continue to update you. I know I haven't even really done the best job in promoting that. Like in a couple of weeks, this is the final Yapping Yankees episode of this format. I've said it constantly on this show, but not everybody hears this show, of course. It does get decent listenership, but not everybody in the world sees it as much as they do maybe a tweet of mine, where I have thousands of followers and my tweets usually get a lot of eyes on them. So I'm going to do a better job over the next couple of weeks to promote it more on social media, but I am very much looking forward to taking that next step in my content. It's very much evolved. When I think about it, I started on college radio when I first got into college 11 years ago, back in 2015. And ever since then, from college radio to having multiple shows there, I even broadcasted basketball games live at my college. And then right after I graduated college, I started Yapping Yankees, and that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years. So I've been doing some form of content for over a decade now. And now from Yapping Yankees, it's going to go on to live streaming. And I don't really know if I'm going to even bother to come up with like a specific name to the live streaming, if I'm going to give it a title like I did to this podcast. Maybe I'll continue calling it Yapping Yankees. Maybe I'll just not have a name for a while and then I'll have another name at some point in the future. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure if the Yankees are going to be the only subject I discuss on live streaming going forward. Again, it's going to be one of those things where I kind of see where it takes me. I'm going to start talking about only the Yankees at the beginning, because especially it's going to be coming from the Yapping Yankees YouTube channel still here. So, we'll at least start it with exclusively Yankees. But, if I get a lot of people in the chat and they want to hear my opinions on certain other things, I might delve into other subjects. That's kind of, again, the exciting thing about live streaming. On the fly, you could ask for opinions and see what it is that people want to hear from you, if not just the subject you already have in mind, in my case, the Yankees. But that's the exciting part about it. Just kind of see where it goes, take it as it comes. So, again, I'm very, very excited for that. I definitely feel it coming up on me in a couple of weeks, the last episode of this format for Yapping Yankees. It's kind of surreal to me. I definitely think that the time to change it up and try something different is definitely here. It's definitely appropriate, and it is the right time. So definitely not feeling any feelings of regret or doubt or anything like that. Definitely not. I think the timing's great, especially right before a new season hits us. I think it's going to be really fun to explore something for this next season in 2026. Because, God only knows if I push this off to another year, who the hell knows what's going to happen to baseball in 27 with the impending CBA negotiations and potential lockout or strike or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? So I think the timing is perfect for this. right before the season starts. We had ourselves a nice chill off season, just having an episode every other week like usual, every other off season before this one. And now I think the timing's perfect to switch on over to something new. So definitely no regret or doubt, but just surreal, I guess. It's just surreal to me that there is a change happening after 7 years of doing this. It's been a blast, guys. I know I constantly reflect on it, but we have been through so much and have talked about so many wild things happening in these last 7 years on this show, whether it be in baseball, in my life, just throughout the world, like things happening in the world, in the country, whatever. I mean, those are seldom ever mentioned on this show. I like to keep it to baseball or just about myself. That's really it. But I mean, occasionally, throughout time, like with the virus and whatnot, things have gotten so crazy in life that you can't help but at least bring it up for a few minutes. So that's what happened at times, inevitably. I mean, it's just silly to ignore crazy things happening around me in the world. But again, that's seldom ever happened in these 7 years. I try to keep it to the content, keep it to myself, and that's it. And I think it's worked out pretty well for me. So that's what we'll keep on doing, even into the live streaming. Nothing crazy is going to change, maybe except for me just incorporating some more topics. I mean, I might talk a little bit of anime on there. I don't know. We'll see. I might talk some Star Wars or anything else that I'm really into, or I would say Marvel, but that's mainly fallen off since Avengers Endgame. But, anything that's going on, any other of my interests, I might at least mention at one point or the other. I don't think that's completely outlandish. It's going to be my live stream after all. So, I mean, just shoot from the hip to a degree, right? It'll mostly still probably center around the Yankees, though, since that's like my biggest point of interest still, I would say. Despite how much I want to disown them sometimes, I never could. But it's still my biggest interest nonetheless, if I had to say. Which is why I've done a podcast primarily focusing on them for over 7 years now. But anyway, again, we will take it as it comes. But I am very, very excited for it. I'm also very excited to continue yapping with you today about our boys, in anticipation of what's to come for 2026. The dates are coming up fast, guys. The fact that pitchers and catchers are reporting in 3 days, it's just bonkers. Bonkers. Absolutely crazy. But I am very excited to discuss with you yet again on today's episode. Got a little bit of a double entendre up there in the episode title today. Not sure if you noticed, with the Yankees, as we've talked about the last few weeks, running it back. And, today being Super Bowl Sunday, one of the positions in football's running back.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I deserve that. I deserve that. But yeah, so figured there was a little stupid double entendre of a title there. Okay, moving on. Let's yap some Yanks today, folks. What do we got to talk about today? What do we got to yap about today? Well, not really too much, to be honest. If we want to talk about some news that's come out over the course of the last couple of weeks when it comes to the Yankees, well, not nearly as much as we would hope. Because, I had some people tell me before the last episode that I was being overly negative and toxic and all of that. The toxic positivity crowd that I always rant about when it comes to not even just the Yankee community, but they exist in every community. And when you have a group of people like myself just being very honest and real about their opinions and the state of whatever they're interested in my case, this Yankee team, with the upcoming season being just around the corner, you have a lot of people not liking you just being upfront about how things are, and they accuse you of being negative, of being toxic, of being a fake fan or not being a true fan, as if they have any right to deem who's a fan and who's not. Like, who the hell are you? Like, despite my opinions on the Yankees, no matter how passionate or extreme they might be in one direction or the other, I have never told somebody in person, on social media, regardless, that you're not a real fan. Not just you're being the fan that you are. Everybody's got a different way of being a fan and wanting what's best for whatever it is they love. Sometimes it's people who really, really want what's best and are not afraid to call out crap when they see it. Or it's just people who just want to blindly support it, even if there are valid points of criticism and standpoints to take. They'll just be like, I love this, and my way of being a fan is just constantly supporting it no matter what. And you know what? I might not agree with that mentality, but you want to know something? If that's your way of doing it, then God love you. I don't care. That's your way of doing it. But no, I got to have these jerks coming to me, these dopes who can't accept other opinions and other viewpoints, even if they are completely valid, with points to back them up. They can never seem to stomach people having different viewpoints and different opinions than they can. They're not real fans, they'll say to me. You're not a real fan. You're a fake. Go root for somebody else. It's just really funny. It's the same thing. Time after time after time, year after year after year. It's the same tired shtick from these people all the time. That's not going to stop me from giving my honest thoughts on this team. I will continue to give my honest thoughts on this team this week, especially given the fact that since pitchers and catchers are reporting in just 3 days, yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I know that moves can still continue into and throughout spring training, but what are the chances? We've heard for months now that the Yankees love what they have. They believe in the group of guys that they have, and they think that taking another shot at this thing with this group is going to yield better results than it did in 2025. Well, you know what? We'll just see now, won't we? I have my opinion that that's not how it's going to go. I don't know for sure, because the fact of the matter is none of us know for sure. We are not fortune tellers. We're not deities. We can't see into the future. So I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out for itself to answer that question. I firmly believe, and unfortunately believe, that's where the line is often skirted and confused, where people think that I take pride, and I'm happy to say this. I'm anything but happy to say this. But I believe that it's not going to go the way that the Yankees hope it will, and I don't think it's going to end well, just like it has not ended well any season since the Yankees' new baby Bombers team started this next window of potential winning for the Yankees back in 2017. I don't see it ending in the way that they want to. I don't. I'm going to stick by that, especially now, even though I know moves can continue into spring training. You really think, after what you've been hearing about the Yankees, about how confident they are in the current group of guys that they have, and the fact that spring training is about to begin now and they're just really focusing in on everything, you really think much of anything else is going to happen? I think not. I think it's not really going to happen. And anything that does happen is probably going to be on a very, very minor level, just like we saw happen a handful of days ago. They did make a move, and it was for youngster 23-year-old right-handed pitcher Angel Chivilli. I think that's how you say the name. I've heard that a few times on the internet. For minor league first baseman TJ Rumfield, and Jack Curry had broken that news on Twitter. I believe it was him, so just to give credit to him for that. So I did my research, as I usually tend to do when I see these kinds of moves made, and I'm not really familiar with the name. And with these small moves the Yankees have been making, I've had to do that a lot lately, because the vast majority of their moves are just really little pickups or waiver claims and things of that nature. But when it comes to a definitive move being made like this with an actual major leaguer, I did even more research into him. Well, the fact that he's 23, I mean, there's always more to learn as you get older, never too old to learn something, but it's even more appealing in someone who's younger, and you can just teach them that much more in the big leagues as their development continues. But he is only 23 years old, so that's really good. Always good to have age on your side when it comes to the younger arms. He averages 97.1 miles per hour on his fastball as of 2025. Now, here's where it gets a little bit ugly. While the fastball has good velo on it, and I mean it kind of has to, because the way baseball is nowadays, if you don't throw at least that hard, you're basically shot dead before you even get a chance. But has a nice 97 mile per hour average on the fastball with some good breaking stuff as well. But here's where it gets a little iffy and uncomfortable. So last year in 2025, as far as ERA, he posted a 7.06 ERA. Yikes. In 43 games. Yeah, that's historically not awesome. So, yeah, 7.06 ERA in 43 games during the 25 season. I take this as the typical bullpen project, just hoping that, since he came from Colorado, that it's a product of Coors Field. I mean, I even took it upon myself to look up some stats as far as his away stats in 2025, and his ERA was still 6.84 in 26 innings. So, those are the stats that really matter. So, listen, I don't doubt that they could help him out. He has the stuff that the Matt Blake pitching lab has turned into big successes, so I'm not denying any of that. I'm not saying that it's automatically just lost hope, but Not a fan of the stuff right away. I mean, listen, it could cash in and be big time with the stuff he has. We've seen it many times before with a lot of bullpen projects, and it could turn out to be that again. If there's one thing that I can never strip the Yankees of valid credit of, it's their work with a lot of no-name bullpen guys and turning them into studs. So even I can't deny that, even if I wanted to. But I don't want to. I don't want to crap on the Yankees, but they do a lot of things that warrant it. So I don't know what you want from me. But that's one thing that even if I wanted to take it away from them, I couldn't. That's an aspect that they have had a lot of success with, particularly in the Matt Blake era. So we'll see what they do with him, I guess. But even that 6.84 away road ERA from last year, that is a colossal yikes. I mean, in 13 innings away in 24 in his first season, it was 138. But again, that's barely over 10 innings. This is double that in 2025. And you see the regression there. It's just not great. It's not great. So I guess we'll see what happens. But again, it's very clear that this is just another bullpen project with a no-name bullpen guy before this, really. Young kid, potential's there, sure, but it's another project. What can I tell you? So that's the bullpen move, I guess, that we'll be getting this offseason. I still have major concerns regarding the bullpen. And yeah, other than that, throughout the last 2 weeks also, they just had more waiver claims, as I mentioned before. But I look up and down the Yankees bullpen for what it is right now. And yeah, they can maybe make another small move before spring training even begins in the next few days, in the next couple of weeks. I don't know. I'm not a fan of what I see out there personally. I'm very uneasy about it. I mean, the back end of the bullpen still has some good guys back there. I mean, you have Bednar for closer. You have Fernando Cruz, who, I mean, he'll make you sweat a bunch. He comes through big in a lot of big situations, but also he did miss time due to injury. He's gotten hurt quite a few times in his career, and he's not getting any younger either if you look at his age, going into his later 30s now. And makes you uneasy sometimes, but then, he'll also come through big, and he's certainly got the enthusiasm to be here, with which you love. I don't want to forget about that. How could I, after the hype that he showed in the later part of the season and throughout the playoffs? And you also have Tim Hill out there, and I love me some Timmy Hill. And Yarbrough, I mean, I'm glad he's back, whether he be back-end help in the earlier part of the season, like Boone recently said is possible, and like we acknowledged too, or if he's middle relief in the bullpen. I happen to like the guy. I think he's pretty solid. Paul Blackburn, I could not care less for. I just don't. Jake Bird, I could not care less for as of right now. Hopefully that changes. Brent Hedrick, he's fine, I guess. I guess. I don't know. And you got Camilo Duvall also, by the way, in the back end of the bullpen. He's a big wild card. And I think, honestly, he's going to be the Yankee bullpen X factor, if I had to choose one. Because like I've said in past episodes, if he remembers how great he was in San Francisco a lot of the time, then that is a massive upside for the back end of the Yankees pen. But if he is anything remotely resembling what he was since arriving in New York from San Francisco, the back end of the bullpen is just, it's not looking great. In my opinion, it's just not looking great. But if Duvall could figure it out, my God, the setup man he could be to Bednar. Holy crapola, what he could be. Wow. Alongside Fernando Cruz and maybe even Tim Hill helping out a bit. So we'll see, guys. Beyond that, you got a lot of lower end sorts of guys. And that's where I'd put Chivilli if I had to put him in a particular spot or envision where he's going to be in the bullpen, at least to start the year. I don't know where it could go from there. He could get better and put his way towards the back end of the bullpen maybe, but that's where I see him at least starting out. As far as anybody else, and by the way, I'm not counting guys who could find themselves in the bullpen when the Yankees rotation restores to more full strength, like, oh, what about Ryan Weathers when he goes back there? Well, that's not where he's starting the season, so I'm not associating him with the bullpen right off rip. So you got this Cade Winquist kid, and you have, I don't know, it's just nobody. I mean, Yeri De Los Santos is still around. It's nobody that I'm really over the moon about at all. I still have especially my middle relief concerns with the bullpen. The back end of the bullpen, again, is going to majorly be predicated on how Camilo Duvall does, to be honest with you. I think he's such an X factor for the bullpen. I'll say that right now. But even so, I think the bullpen could have used some middle relief reinforcements, even more so. I mean, especially if Chivilli just continues to be as awful as he was last year, it's not gonna be a game changer at all, at least for the better. So that's that. That was the move that was most recently made for the bullpen. It's probably gonna be the last, if not for another minor move made at some point in the next few weeks. We'll have to see. I don't know. Other than that, we have another case of the Yankees, as one of my favorite fellow Yankees content creators had put out on Instagram. I think it was a few days ago. I think it was Joe Randazzo. Don't quote me on that, but if it wasn't, I'm glad to give you the credit. Joe, you deserve it. You're hilarious. But he just emphasized how it's just another example of the Yankees not beating the running it back allegations. It's true. Not to say that I dislike the move or anything. Don't misunderstand me. But it's just the whole mantra about the Yankees running it back and how they're so shameless in doing so. And it's true. It's another example of them bringing yet another guy back from the 25 squad that fell on their faces in the ALDS. That's all I'm saying. But the Yankees did. It was being floated around very intensely about a week and a half ago, I want to say. There were heavy rumors about Paul Goldschmidt returning to the Yankees. And they were like, oh, it could be a great fit. He's coming back. He could platoon with Rice and all this stuff. And it was really gaining traction. And then just a handful of days ago, it was confirmed that the Yankees did bring Goldschmidt back again on another one-year deal like they did last offseason heading into 2025, signing him to a one-year deal.
I want more.
I know, Anakin. I feel that. But the names we think of are no longer on the market, so there's nothing we can do. But regardless, yeah, just bring in another 2025er back. It's not at all a surprise. It is very much in the Yankees' nature these days.
Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?
Oh my god, that's a good Obi-Wan sound effect we're adding to it. Oh my god. May or may not be very accurate to how I feel about the Yankees half the time. That's funny. All right, I don't want to start painting this like I think this is a disaster move or anything, because if I'm to be honest and put the comedy aside for a second about how I feel about the Yankees getting Goldschmidt back, listen, it's not the biggest splash in the world, and yeah, it's just another example of running it back. Absolutely. It's all true, whether or not you want to acknowledge it. But honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. As long as he doesn't step in and just interfere with Ben Rice's continued development, because all of us love how Ben Rice has continued to develop over the last couple of years and improve and just continue to grow in the big leagues. And as long as he doesn't interfere with that, I'm cool with it. And it is worth mentioning the stark contrast in success when you compare it to how he is against left-handed pitchers as opposed to how he is against right-handed pitchers. And if the real goal is to just have him mainly on the bench and just platoon with Ben Rice over at first, and have him only face left-handed pitchers, which he is vastly better against, obviously, than right-handed pitchers, I'm cool with it. I don't really see the problem, to be honest. It's only a year. It's on the cheap again. And by the way, it should be mentioned, and Paul should be given credit for this too, that he actually received a few $1 million more from other teams, but he took less money to return to the Yankees. And that, I cannot properly convey in words how much I love that.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Absolutely, Palpatine. I mean, how often do you hear guys, except for, not named Aaron Judge, how often do you hear guys not named Aaron Judge willing to come to the Yankees for less money than other teams are offering these days? People couldn't care less about being a Yankee right now if you have better offers around, especially, even more so in that case. I mean, many years ago, everybody wanted to be a Yankee. You don't see that as much in today's game anymore. It's just a fact. So him coming to the Yankees for less money this time around, despite how things ended last year, I mean, clearly Bro didn't want to retire yet. At the end of this coming season, he's going to be 39 years old, so Bro's no spring chicken anymore, that's for sure. But he wants to be a Yankee that badly, and he wants to be a part of this, even if he's just platooning and on the bench a decent amount of the time. I have a massive amount of respect for that. I've always loved Goldschmidt throughout his whole career, even going way back to his Cardinals days and his Diamondbacks days. Like I've loved Goldschmidt his whole career. I've always thought he's a fantastic overall player, let alone first baseman specifically. But the fact that he has this kind of respect for the Yankees, especially after only having spent one season here just last year, I have a massive amount of respect for that, to be honest. And again, as long as he doesn't cut into Ben Rice's development and he's just a platoon to face off against left-handed pitchers, because God only knows how much in sore need the Yankees are of right-handed hitters, I'm for it. I'm not expecting him to put up a 370 batting average in his first couple of months like he did last year when the Yankees caught lightning in a bottle with that. Definitely not expecting that, especially if he's only gonna have about half the playing time, give or take. But I'm for this if that's the plan. I'm cool with it. I mean, maybe example of running it back again, but you could also just take things on a case-by-case basis, and that's how I feel about Paul. Even if you want to talk about from a defensive standpoint, look at the clinic he put on a lot of the time defensively last year. I'm for this. I think it's a pretty good move. I like it. So, welcome back, Paul, and we'll see how the Yankees use him, just how often they utilize him. It's probably going to mainly be against left-handed pitchers in 2026, and I don't think that's an awful move. I don't. Obviously, I would have had my preferences, mainly named Kazuma Okamoto, but what am I going to do? He's in Toronto now. I'm going to harp on that forever. There's nothing I can do about it. So we'll see how this works out with Goldschmidt returning for his second season in pinstripes. See how it turns out. So those are mainly the two moves that the Yankees made these past couple of weeks. So again, nothing big at all, but a couple of things worth mentioning as far as things that they view as improvements and things that could help the team this year. Whether or not we believe they could actually make big impacts, that's what's happened in the last couple of weeks. There was also an announcement that was rumored that Jason Dominguez is going to likely be starting 2026 in AAA, which is very unfortunate. I don't really know if behind the scenes the Yankees were able to put together a respectable package involving Jason to solve any of the glaring issues on this team. I'm not sure if that opportunity ever presented itself at any point during this offseason, whether it be in a trade for Edward Cabrera or maybe especially in a potential Freddie Peralta package they were looking to put together before he not signed with the Mets, before he got traded to the Mets, rather. But, I mean, I just think that if this is how Jason's going to continue to be treated here, and if he's just going to continuously be blocked and not given the opportunity to grow in the big leagues like he should be having right now, I just think it's unfortunate that either an opportunity has not presented itself to give him a chance to develop in the big leagues elsewhere, or that just the Yankees in the past have not given him even more opportunities than he's been given. I mean, I know he had a good amount of at-bats last year. I've debated this with a lot of people, but there were also plenty of times where I was like, where's Jason? He could be playing today. I remember saying that to myself a couple of dozen times. I mean, this kid should be playing almost every day. Every single day. And I realize that right now, there's no room on the roster in order to do that. And that's what's making them feel like they have to do this, because they want him playing almost every day. And the only way to do that in their mind is playing in the minor leagues. Because right now, the outfield consists of Judge, Trent, and Cody now that he's back regularly. And I get it. There's an argument also to be made about why the Yankees still offered Trent Grisham that pretty expensive qualifying offer. Now, I am a Trent guy. I like Trent. But if you are a person who's wondering, like, why isn't Jason being prioritized to develop, I don't think that's a completely unfair point to make either. I don't. I very much like what Trent did last year. Do I think he could repeat at least a fraction of that? Yeah, I think so. It's always possible. You never know. Will he repeat exactly that? That's a tall order, because it was by far an outlier season last year. Only time will tell. But I mean, it's just unfortunate because I have a soft spot for Jason, because whether it be Oswald Peraza or a handful of other guys, I mean, I have experience seeing the Yankees hold certain prospects hostage and screw up their development and just not handle the process correctly. So I'm just afraid that that's what's going to be happening to Jason, because I don't know if he's going to ever really work out on a major level in the big leagues. I'm not sure whether it be here or elsewhere, but we've heard for years now of this kid's potential. And if he's not going to be given every single opportunity to develop here in the big leagues on the Yankees, we got to figure something out to help this kid, to help him develop elsewhere. I know that that's silly to prioritize his personal well-being over the Yankees' success. I am a Yankee fan at the end of the day, not specifically a Jason Dominguez fan, but I just have a soft spot for prospects who are held hostage and deserve better, more opportunities to develop at the level at which they belong. And I think Jason at this point is beyond the minors, to be honest. I have had this discussion on this show many times. I've talked about this on many episodes. And I still feel the same way, especially even more so now in February of 2026. I think he needs to be given every opportunity to develop in the big leagues. That doesn't mean that I'm saying give him away for absolutely nothing just for the sake of him going elsewhere. But I find it hard to believe that within the last year or so that there was not one single opportunity out there that could have presented itself where the Yankees could have included him in a package if they truly saw him not being a part of the everyday outfield here. I find that very hard to believe. But listen, I'm also not internal, so I could be wrong. But I'm just saying that I hope that Jason doesn't end up being another casualty in the Yankees' it's the right word for this. I guess I should say occasional habit that I've seen in the past with certain other prospects of just holding certain prospects hostage within the organization and just not providing them with the appropriate opportunities, the appropriate amount of opportunities to really be able to develop at the big league level the way that they've proven that they could. I mean, there were plenty of opportunities last year that Jason didn't come through and I really expected him to, but I also know that there are plenty of opportunities that there were a lot of days where both in 24 when he was ready to come back from injury and throughout 25 where I was like, where's Jason? That's all I know. So we'll see what ends up coming of Jason this year. I don't really know what's going to happen. Obviously, I hope Trent kicks ass. I hope Cody kicks ass again. We know what Judge is going to do if he's healthy, and obviously if any of these guys get hurt, God forbid, then that's Jason's in, I guess. But then even beyond that, what are we going to do if Spencer spends the vast majority of the year in the minor leagues kicking ass again? Then you talk about him being blocked too. So it's just an ugly discussion that, yeah, I guess maybe we can save for down the road. But then what's down the road potentially? Also a Major League Baseball lockout potentially. So, oh my God. So just some thoughts I wanted to give and reiterate in many ways because those are thoughts in a lot of ways that I've said already before. But just some continued thoughts that I felt amidst seeing that apparent report that people were saying that Jason may very well start 2026 in AAA. Wasn't too big of a fan of hearing that. I mean, the only aspect of that that's positive, like I said before, is that he could play every day down there. Maybe they could help him to get more accustomed to left field or wherever they envision him in the long term, potentially playing the most up here when he does get back up to the majors. But that's about where that ends. I'd rather see the kid develop in the majors, personally. That's my personal opinion, but what do I know? According to some people, apparently nothing, so I guess I should just shut my yapper and just end the episode. They wish. But anyway, as far as more news around the league, because I know that some people were saying that they would have liked for this to happen for the Yankees, I could not be more thrilled that it didn't. But apparently, Framber Valdez signed with the Tigers, so he's not on the Astros anymore. Obviously, we know for months he has been out there, and people were saying that the Yankees should get him. They should take a chance on him. It'd be a great addition to the rotation. Now, personally, as much as I'm sure some people were expecting me to rip the Yankees for letting this guy go and letting yet another name fly off the billboard on the pitching market and with my concerns with certain aspects of the pitching, despite the rotation being the aspect of the team I'm probably least concerned with, honestly, Valdez he's a clubhouse cancer, guys. I hated what I saw last year with that whole deal with him and his catcher when he threw at him, and there was that whole drama when it comes to not wanting to throw a pitch, and then after he gave up a homer, he threw at the catcher's mask, or I don't even remember exactly what happened, to be honest with you, but I remember it just pissed me off to no end because I just think there's nothing crappier that a teammate can do than going after their other teammate, especially when it's as a result of something that you did wrong. Like maybe you should have just, I don't know, maybe thrown a better pitch. That's a crazy idea, right? But yeah, I don't need somebody like that who could go after his own guys on his own team. I don't want somebody like that in the Yankee clubhouse, so I'm good on all the Valdez crap, to be honest with you. So he can enjoy in Detroit, especially for the money that he got. He can just have the time of his life over there. He's the Tigers' problem now. I don't want the Yankees getting involved in that whole mess, to be really truthful with you. So I am actually, probably contrast to what some people were expecting me to say on this, I'm completely fine with the Yankees not getting him. I am absolutely fine with that. So If you were expecting me to say something along those lines, if you didn't already know my opinion personally before this episode, then yeah, you already knew I was going to say that. But if you were expecting something else and you're really shocked, well, that's the deal. I do not need the Valdez mess on the Yankees. So all the best to him. I hope he learns how to be a better teammate in the future. And if he thrives in Detroit, well, again, like I said before earlier in the show, when it comes to people and their habits of what they like to say to me, God love you and all the best. What can I tell you? So that's the deal with that. Valdez to Detroit, and my overarching thoughts on it, I could not care less. So that's really the biggest pieces of news, I guess, we have from these past couple of weeks that involved the Yankees or could have involved the Yankees in the case of Valdez, where people have been talking about him with the Yankees potentially. That's really all. So not much else to talk about there. I mean, I already gave my thoughts on the bullpen, how I wish that if they don't have any moves left in them, that they added some more middle relief help. I'm feeling a little uneasy about the bullpen still. The starting rotation, I mean, especially when it's at full strength, it's the one that I'm probably least concerned about. But until then, they have some obstacles to overcome, of course. It's going to start with Fried, Schlittler, Heel, Warren, and Ryan Weathers. That's pretty much going to be the five. We even heard Aaron Boone reconfirm that in an interview recently in the last week or so. I mean, to start off, it's not great, and there's a lot of injury risk in that rotation like we've talked about. Fried, he had a fantastic year last year, and I obviously believe in him the most, especially amongst these guys. But he's had his injury history. I mean, the last thing I want to do is jinx anything. I'm just telling the truth. I don't really believe in jinxes. It's just I'm telling you the truth. He's had an injury history. What do you want me to tell you? You want me to lie? I don't want to lie to you. So he has an injury history, so there's that. So does Luis Heel. But as long as he's healthy and he's controlling his walks, keeping the ball mostly in the strike zone, then he'll be dominant. That'll be fine. Cam Schlittler, I'm obviously expecting him to take those next steps, and I can't wait to watch that. Ryan Weathers is a big question mark. I mean, he's got nice stuff, but I don't really care much for the guy. I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he goes out there and does well, at least until the Yankees get somebody back. He'll probably be the first one to jump to the bullpen, if I had to say. When the Yankees get Rodon back first, that's just my guess. He'll probably be the first one to be added to the bullpen and help with middle relief there. I think that's where he fits more, to be honest, and maybe he could help out in that sense as the season goes along, but I didn't consider him there at the start of the season because that's not where he's going to be. So when Rodon gets back after the first few weeks, possibly like a month, I hear he's doing really good in his progress of healing up and warming up and ramping up. You hear Rodon himself saying that in the last couple of weeks, and Boone also saying it constantly. So, I mean, hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. And again, I think Weathers will be the first one to jump to the bullpen, but we'll see when that time actually comes, when Rodon's ready to go. So then, I guess Rodon will be added to that mix, and the rotation's still pretty good at that point. I mean, Cole is probably not going to be back still until around June. I would say at earliest around Memorial Day. I think that'd be probably the earliest. And then when Cole gets back, then you're looking at a really nice rotation. You got Cole, Rodon, Fried, Schlittler, and it'll probably be Heel, the number 5. I mean, as always, who knows what's going to happen by the time the deadline comes around and where the rotation will even be by then, because, I mean, we know what injuries are around going into the season, but who knows where the injuries are going to be by then. Maybe somebody else we don't even know of yet is going to be hurt by then, and what moves they'll have to make to pivot from that. That's why it's tough to talk about the future potentially, because you don't know where they're going to be months from now, and entire discussions could be completely different by then as a result. So, but as of now, when Cole comes back, which some people are saying, oh, he'll definitely be back in like sometime in May. Well, it's doubtful. You hear May or June. So, and the Yankees usually don't like to rush guys back historically. So, unless they absolutely need to. But since this is the start of the year and they believe that they have guys that are good enough to brave the first part of the season, I mean, you've heard Boone and all of them say that many, many times. So, they're not going to rush anybody. They said they're not going to rush Rodon back either, even if he's ready to go a little earlier than they're saying. But we'll have to see. I personally think the earliest possible time that Cole could be back and would be back is Memorial Day weekend, or any time around that. That's my personal opinion. I don't see him coming back before Memorial Day weekend. I'd be shocked. So he's still missing a good amount of time. So this rotation is going to have to bear down and figure it out for a little while. And even if that's just with with Fried, Rodon, and Schlittler for a little bit, I don't think that's the worst three to have. So that's why I'm not overly concerned for the rotation, but because of the injury risk as well, and it's still without Cole for at least a couple of months, that's why there's still a little bit of uneasiness there, which is why adding a starting pitcher wouldn't have been the worst idea. But it is still the aspect that I'm probably least concerned with. So that's the deal with the rotation going in, at least at the very beginning. Again, we're going to get Fried, Schlittler, Heel, Warren, Weathers. Not exactly in that particular order, especially with the back end there from 3 to 5. We'll see. But those are the guys we're going to see in the rotation to start. It's fortunate that it's only for the first couple of weeks or so before Rodon comes back. Then I'll feel a little bit better. We'll see, though. And then the offense, listen, I made my thoughts more than clear on all this. It's kind of just like repeating myself. But listen, it's getting closer, so I might as well just reinforce them. But the lineup's going to be exactly the same, like I said. And people are very quick to constantly mention to me. They still are on Twitter constantly. Yankees were the best offense in the league last year. Yankees were the best offense in the league last year. Yankees were the best offense in the league last year. Yankees were the best offense in the league last year. I get it. I get it. Okay? And I know that just as easily as I say right now that how can you guarantee other guys to be as good as they were, I get that there could be another side to the coin to that. How could I expect guys who were really bad to be as bad as they were again? I understand that there's two sides to that coin. But it's easier to say in my case, and it makes more sense to say in my case, because the guys who were as good as they were last year that you perhaps were not expecting, without those, the Yankees probably aren't where they were. Now, you could say the same thing about Devin Williams, a guy like that who really, arguably, and it's completely fair to say, cost the Yankees first place in the division because of just how many games he single-handedly blew, especially in those first couple of months closing for the team. Absolutely true. So I guess in that case, you could say it kind of balances out when I say, how can you expect guys like Trent to have the year that he had last year, even though I'm a Trent guy, and I think he could still have a respectable year, but a year on the level of last year? How could you expect Jazz to go 31-31 again? People also forget that, especially in the first 2.5 months last year, like I mentioned earlier on in the episode when talking about him, Paul Goldschmidt was a massive piece to success for the Yankees last year in much of the first half, batting in the mid to high 300s at age 37 to 38. That's lightning in the bottle stuff. A lot of things have to go right in this lineup. So if a lot of people want to mention Devin Williams and other factors, brutal factors from last year that could even the scales in me saying this with certain bats, well, that's great. And you're right about Devin Williams. Addition by subtraction in that case. You're not wrong. But I'm also specifically talking about the lineup because we're talking about people having said that this was the best offense in the league last year. They say that ad nauseum as if I don't already know. But that's why I make these counterpoints. Not to be negative, not to be toxic, not to be a fake fan, but to just be real and ask real questions and raise real points that are worth thinking about and considering. It's not that hard to understand, guys. It's not rocket science. So that's all I'm saying. When it comes to the offense specifically, when we want to talk about them being the best offense in the league and expecting the same thing to happen again, and because of being the best offense in the league, not having any reservations about them running back literally from top to bottom, the exact same lineup as the second half 2025 team. Can you expect Trent to match last year? Can you expect Goldschmidt to do what he did? And he's probably not even going to get a fraction of the playing time because Ben Rice is going to be playing much of first base. So there's that as well. Can you expect Jazz to do what he did? When it comes to third base, and again, when it comes to third or first, this is where my Okamoto points come in. But again, I won't say that anymore, I guess. But when it comes to Ryan McMahon over at third base, I seem to recall that at one point last year in the second half, when a couple of months went by, and McMahon's putting on a clinic the entire time at third base. Absolutely, nobody's debating the defense. But I recall many Yankee fans becoming very frustrated watching Ryan McMahon at the plate. You're in for that for an entire year this time around. And we all value offense the way that we do. Are you prepared to watch Ryan McMahon not hit about 95% of the time throughout an entire year. Maybe if anything happens at the deadline, he gets moved or whatever, and then you don't have to do it for the whole year. But otherwise, are you prepared to put up with something like that for an entire year this time, as opposed to just a couple of months? Maybe the defense will help you feel a little bit better about it, and defense is a big part of it, absolutely. But are you willing to put up with that offensively for an entire year this time? When the Yankees play Volpe again, when he's back from his injury, and they will, they definitely will, because they never want to give up on this kid. Do you really see him taking a major stride? Are you prepared for Austin Wells at catcher? He's going to have his backup in J.C. Escara probably. But are you prepared more often than not, since he'll be the starter, to see Austin Wells go through his beyond extended slumps again and just make you want to rip your hair out with his approaches at the plate? And just, yeah, he'll come through and get some big hits every once in a while. Like I said, even a blind squirrel can find a nut every once in a while. But unless he takes another step forward, which I'm willing to think that nothing really major is going to change for him offensively at this point. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm expecting more extended periods of just nothingness out of Austin Wells offensively. These are a lot of guys in the lineup that you have to think about. Everyone's also mentioning, oh, but Stanton's healthy this time. Well, for how long? And you know that I'm being real when I say this, because I'm a big Giancarlo Stanton guy. We know this. If you've been following me and listening to me for a long time, or even just about a season or two, you know how much I love Giancarlo. Unless you're just intentionally tuning yourself out so you can try to dog on me. But it's a fact. I mean, I could pull up any clip you want of me glazing Giancarlo, even in periods of time when everyone else is crapping on him. So you know that I'm being real when I'm saying this. I'm just raising concerns. I'm not being negative. I'm raising real concerns based off of evidence in the past. Even the very recent past. Just last year. I love Giancarlo, but how long is that health going to last? I hope it lasts. I mean, if you recall, we were told going into last season that those elbow issues that he was having in both of his arms was going to be for the rest of his career, really, and he's just going to have to learn to play through it. Is that still prevalent in 2026? Is it still a big factor? Does he still feel it a lot? Is it really going to interfere with his gameplay? Is it going to flare up during the year and really interfere? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he'll be fine. Great. That'd be fantastic for the lineup. But again, questions to ask. The only sure thing on this team, and again, even if he's healthy, but I mean, other than missing a week last year and with the arm problems, and yeah, there were concerns with the throwing from the outfield, but they're assuring he's in great health now and whatnot. And then the freak thing in LA in 2023, there's been no major health issues with Aaron Judge for the better part of the last half decade plus. So I'll put my faith in Judge. And as long as he's healthy, he's a big sure thing. Absolutely. Cody, I think, will be fine. I hope he is. There's been major inconsistency at certain times of his career, but I think he'll be okay. He really likes it here, and he's locked in here. Fits in very well. No doubt about any of that. But there are questions to ask. What are Ben Rice's next steps going to entail, and how often will Goldschmidt be playing at first base? Probably mainly just against the lefties, but how often is that going to be, and how much is it going to cut into Ben Rice's playing time? Is Austin Wells going to be the same extended slump offensively catcher that we have seen? And is he going to take more steps forward defensively? I hope so. But is he going to be more or less the same catcher where he goes through beyond extended slumps of just nothingness? Nothingness. Ryan McMahon, probably not going to hit at all at third base, more or less. Except for the occasional home run and maybe batting between 210 and 230. I don't know. That's really all. Going to put on a clinic at third defensively, sure. But otherwise, Caballero's starting at shortstop. That could be very fun. Maybe he could put up at least decent numbers at shortstop in the meantime while he's hitting at the beginning. He'll be respectable defensively, so the left side of the Yankee infield defensively should be pretty solid. But, I mean, he's no Ozzie Smith. He's no superstar either. And Are we even going to see him again when Volpe comes back? Because we know how badly they want to play him. And we all know what Volpe entails. Is Jazz going to be able to repeat what he does? I like Jazz offensively. It's probably the part about him that I like the most. But is he going to be able to repeat 31-31 like a great offensive season that he had last year? Can he fix his defensive blunders that he occasionally has that make me scratch my head a lot of the time? Judge, you know what you're going to get. Trent, how's that going to go? He actually took a bit of a step back defensively in some areas last year. Can he regain that terrific defense that he had in 24 and back before that? I think he easily could. He's by nature a good defender. How about the bat? Is he going to do a fraction of what he did last year in a beyond outlier year? How's Cody going to be? I think Cody will be okay personally. I'm not sure he reaches what he did last year. He very much could or even surpass. But there's also the concern of the inconsistency that there's been at times in his career. So the lineup has its questions. It does. Does it have potential to be awesome again, like last year for the most part? Sure, it does. Does it have the potential to be an absolute dumpster fire, especially if there are certain people who are not even healthy and you're missing a lot of big pieces in the lineup? Yeah, it does. Does anything, Mike? Oh, yeah, sure it does. Anything could happen to anybody and any team, of course. But again, just because they might not happen doesn't mean that they're concerns that shouldn't at least be brought up. Because there are things we've seen in the last few years that leave us unsettled. And even if they do have a good season, which I think they will because they tend to have a good season, the regular season has really seldom ever been the Yankees' problem. It's the postseason that tends to be the problem. And we saw how they fell on their face in a lot of areas, how many players just completely disappeared despite the regular seasons they've had. It's far from the first time we've seen that happen, regardless of lineup for the Yankees in the playoffs. And running back literally from top to bottom, the exact same second half 2025 lineup has some people, including myself, asking questions and being concerned in certain areas. I don't think that's unfair. And I think anybody who says that is completely unfair and is completely unfounded, I think they're being unfair. It's not like I have no reason to say these things or have these concerns or like I'm rooting for the bad things to happen. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But that also doesn't mean they shouldn't be mentioned. I've been watching this team long enough and have seen how they've operated for the better part of the last decade plus to see when they're trying to hit their fans with incredible amounts of copium and hopium, despite trying a lot of the same things constantly and expecting different results. Happens to be the definition of insanity. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. But it's just thoughts that I have. And I think it's fair to keep reiterating them the closer that the regular season gets. And we'll see what happens, how many of them are correct, how many of them are incorrect. There's only one way to find out, but we shall see. So those are some of my repeated thoughts and just some updated pieces of news that have happened the last couple of weeks. The only other real thing to talk about before getting into the social media segment for today's episode, and again, this is going to be the last Yankee-related social media segment because next episode in 2 weeks rather, for the final Yapping Yankees episode of this format, it's going to be a live streaming related question. Just, talking about live streaming in the future and what the future is going to entail for my content. So it'll be more related to that. But this is the last Yankee-related Yapping Yankees social media segment. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But before that, there's the World Baseball Classic hype. And I just want to reiterate how excited I am for it. I have always loved this tournament. A lot of other people think it's just pointless or dumb because people have their myriad of reasons. They say that people who play here, they shouldn't be going back to play for their home countries. They should all play for the USA because this is where they make their millions and this is where they play throughout the year. And listen, I hear that, I guess, but also I understand the pride of going home to play for one's home country. And also, if every single person who plays here played for the USA, they would literally never lose. It would be the definition of a slanted tournament. So I hear both sides, but it's kind of got to be the way that it is right now in order to actually be a tournament. So that's my stance on that whole thing. That's always been my stance. But also, there are people who just hate the risk that comes with guys getting hurt or the timing of the tournament. And I guess I understand that because guys may not be completely ramped up by the time it comes in because it happens during spring training. They're in the middle of their ramp up for the regular season. And if they do get a major injury, it could have major repercussions and an effect on the regular season to come afterwards. Most notably, the one that's always talked about is Edwin Diaz with the Mets. Nobody's forgotten that from the last tournament. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, guys, especially with how prevalent injuries are in today's game, a guy could pull a hamstring walking up a staircase at home. Like, I'm not putting it past anybody to get hurt in the most ridiculous way. Even in the World Baseball Classic. Like, Edwin Diaz got hurt by jumping up and down and celebrating. That could happen at any time. That could happen if you're in a spring training game and there's a play in the infield where the first baseman has to go field it and you have to go cover first and you're on your way running your ass off to first base and you pull a hammy. Like, that could literally happen at any time. So I find it really hard to believe whenever a freak thing happens in the World Baseball Classic that it's the tournament's fault. It happens. It's no consolation, and it's not going to make anybody feel better to be given that, vague of a reason or that vague of a, comfort for that. It's not even really a comfort. It's just blatant. It's just blunt realism. It happens. You could pull a hamstring walking in or jogging in from the bullpen. It happens at any point in time. So I can't blame the tournament for that. Everyone's like, oh, you'd feel differently if it happened to a Yankee. I really wouldn't. Would I think it's a real shame and I'd be morbidly depressed about it? Yeah, of course I would be. But I'm not going to blame the World Baseball Classic or call for its cancellation over it. There are a lot of people who happen to like it, and it means a lot to players despite what some other people will tell you. People are constantly out there, players left and right from the U.S., elsewhere, talking about how much the tournament means to them and how much they love to participate in it. And every time it happens, let's not act like everybody doesn't have a blast whenever it's on. They do. Everybody really likes the World Baseball Classic. Everybody who cares to watch it, at least, always has a blast when it's on. It's so much fun. So I can't wait for it like I can't every time it's on. It happens every 3 or 4 years. And I'm hoping the U.S. wins again this time. The last time they won, obviously, was in 2017. Obviously, the last tournament was when Japan won again for their third time. So, yeah, they've definitely been the most successful of the countries, and they're going to have all their guys stacked up again like Ohtani and basically all the guys that were on the 2023 World Baseball Classic team. Guys like Murakami and Yamamoto and Okamoto, all the guys. They're probably all going to be there. I heard that guy Sato's going to be there as well, and it's going to be friggin' sick. I can't wait. The DR is stacked. The U.S. is stacked. I cannot friggin' wait. There are some people who just don't care, and that's fine. You don't have to care. But I personally love this tournament. I definitely think that, fortunately, despite the Edwin Diaz thing from years ago, I've spoken to a lot of level-headed Met fans who do not hold the tournament responsible for something like that, and that it was just literally a freak thing because it was. The guy had a traumatic injury from jumping up and down during a celebration. So I don't know. It could literally happen to anybody, anywhere. But regardless, whether it be Met fans or other fans of other fan bases, I've fortunately spoken to a lot of people, and it seems like the overall sentiment in support of the World Baseball Classic is really geared towards that more the last couple of years. I mean, it's really become more favorable amongst the general baseball community, if I had to say. And I love to see that because the tournament really was under some legitimate fire after the whole Diaz thing. So I'm glad that a lot of people have become, if they weren't already the whole time, more level-headed on the issue, whether or not they be Met fans specifically, or just, fans of any other team where their players were hurt in the World Baseball Classic. Diaz wasn't the first case, and guess what? He's not going to be the last. So, because things happen, whether they be in the Baseball Classic, in spring training, in the regular season, in the postseason, it doesn't, or maybe even just, I don't know, like Jabba Chamberlain, injuring yourself on a trampoline. It happens. So, personally, again, as if I haven't emphasized it enough, I cannot freaking wait for this tournament. The only thing that I think is very unfortunate, and I heard that the Puerto Rican team is going through like an awful lot right now. I heard rumors, and I didn't look into it probably as much as I should have. I'll feign ignorance on that. But I hear that guys like Lindor and then Baez for apparently Javi Baez apparently for there was a thing about him with marijuana, and Major League Baseball allows that, but the governing body of the World Baseball Classic still doesn't. So I think he's still serving that from when he was caught with that, and I think it was the last tournament, and I think he's still going to be forced to miss this one if I'm not mistaken. I've also heard that there may be some insurance concerns with him and Lindor especially. That's primarily the one that I've heard that with. Like, insurance just isn't covering certain things with it. I didn't look into it as much as I should have, but apparently it's just an insurance issue. That's the vague reasoning for it. I heard that Carlos Correa might even be roped into those issues as well. I'm looking it up now on the fly just to give myself more details on this, because I read something very briefly about it like a week and a half ago, but I didn't take specific bullet point notes on it or anything, and it was just very brief. I remember like looking at it on my lunch break at work or something. Let's see here. The denials stem from strict underwriting regarding recent injuries and surgeries, with Lindor's elbow procedure in 2025 specifically cited. Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa, Jose Berrios as well, Victor Caratini, Emilio Pagan, Alexis Diaz, and others are reported to be denied coverage. Stringent insurance criteria in 2026 is cited to be the cause, following injuries to Edwin Diaz, just mentioned that before, and Jose Altuve in 2023. Means players with recent 60-day IL time or surgeries are considered too high risk and are not being covered. Yeah, so that sounds about right. So it's creating a big issue for Team Puerto Rico, and there have been a lot of people discussing the potential of them dropping out of the tournament. Now that would be terrible for the tournament, to be honest, because Team Puerto Rico does have the potential to be one of the big 3 or 4 teams in the tournament. So that would really be a shame. That would not be right. I mean, I understand the too high risk aspect of it, but if the guys want to represent their country, bro, they like, I don't know. They know what they're putting on the line. They know. I know insurance is unfortunately a part of it. Now, I happen to think that insurance in general, depending on the industry, most especially, but I mean, especially with medical and with car and a lot of things like that, insurance is majorly just an absolute freaking scam in this country these days. Unfortunately, I understand the role that it plays in society, and it's really, really crappy that it's resulting in things like this happening with something like the World Baseball Classic, where guys just want to represent their country proudly and they know what they're putting on the line. I just think it's really, really sucks. It sucks for the tournament. I want every country to be at full strength with the best of their players playing for the countries. That's how I want it to be. That's when the tournament's at its best. It's the same sort of thing where you're talking about how certain other fans from other fan bases who like to rag on, let's say, the Yankees, for instance, or the Angels when it comes to Mike Trout, dogging on these guys for getting hurt just because they're injury prone, or maybe they hate the team they're playing for and they just want to dog on the fans. Well, you also forget that it's factually worse for the game if guys are hurt and they can't contribute to the game or they can't participate in a tournament like the World Baseball Classic. These things do damage to the product at the end of the day too, and you want to see these guys play. It makes the game more fun. Why wouldn't you want to see them play regardless of your hatred for them personally, or maybe the team they play for or the fans they play in front of? It's foolish. Of course I want guys like Lindor and Correa and Berrios and certain other guys like Baez to be able to play for Puerto Rico. The team will be better for it, and it'll make for more of an exciting tournament for the World Baseball Classic, which I happen to love. So I hope this is somehow resolved, and I definitely hope Puerto Rico does not drop out of the tournament or have to drop out of the tournament as a result. I would understand if they're missing all these guys and then some, because like, what's the point? They're just going to get stomped out. And Puerto Rico's been one of the big teams in the tournament the last couple of times through. They're big. I mean, I know Diaz is still closing for them again, and like there are good aspects of their team, but there are a lot of players here affected by this that could really affect how they perform in the tournament. And it really, really sucks. So I hope somehow it's resolved and they could stay in it and just make a crazy run. I mean, listen, if insurance isn't going to cover, it's not going to cover, and it is what it is. But I don't know. Just blind hope, I guess. I hope they figure something out. I don't know what that could be. But all I know is that these guys know what they're putting on the line, and the World Baseball Classic, contrary to what a lot of fans will tell you, because they like to believe that they know everything and they know how players feel. But this tournament means a lot to a lot of the players, yes, even here in the United States. Like, you even hear Aaron Judge constantly talk about how much it means to him to be the captain of Team USA. Like, it's huge. It's great. It's awesome. I want this tournament to get bigger and bigger. I love that baseball has a tournament like this. So, I'm hoping that they figure all this stuff out and that Puerto Rico can participate at full strength or as close to full strength as humanly possible. But again, I cannot wait for this tournament. Next Yapping Yankees episode on the 22nd, it'll be that much closer. It'll only be 10 days away by then. Yeah, 10 days. So it'll be really close then, and we'll talk even more about it then. But I am just vibrating with excitement about this. So we'll just keep in touch with the Puerto Rican team news over the course of the next few weeks. Hope it resolves itself somehow, but otherwise the hype for the tournament just continues to build. Players like Skeens and Scooble being in the rotation, guys like Judge, Schwarber, Raleigh, Bobby Witt Jr., Bryce Harper, Henderson, Bregman, Pete Crow Armstrong, Corbin Carroll, if I didn't already mention him. Just so many. It's a stacked lineup. It's absolutely stacked. Again, let alone the rotation, too, with like Scooble, Skeens, Joe Ryan, and Logan Webb, and oh my God. And even guys like Nolan McLean, Mets rookie, taking part. Like, that's badass. The bullpen's solid. Bednar is going to be towards the back end again. It's just going to be so friggin' cool. I cannot wait. And also, DR and Japan going to be stacked. It's just going to be friggin' awesome. It's going to be so good. And by the way, we were talking about Paul Goldschmidt before, too. He's also going to be there. And I think that he's also, at least for Team USA, the first player to participate in 3 World Baseball Classics and play for Team USA. That's awesome. That's really cool. So even him taking part in it, we'll see how much of a role he plays in it. It's just going to be a really good tournament. I can't wait. But that's it. So World Baseball Classic hype, and thought I'd just hit on the Puerto Rican issue for a little bit because it's just a crappy situation. So I hope Team Puerto Rico is able to figure that out. Lastly, let us go to the social media segment and wrap up today's episode afterwards. So today's question on social media, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in this Yankee team's success in 2026, despite them at this point nearly entirely running it back? I've basically said this. I'll probably just say like a 5 or a 6. And I saw some replies like saying, well, define success, like regular season, postseason. That's a solid point. I guess I just mean like the postseason and regular season, pretty much. Regular season, I'm fine. I'm like a 7 or an 8. Maybe even a little higher than that. Because the regular season's never been their problem. I'm sure they'll win 90+. Unless things just go catastrophically and hilariously wrong. I mean, that's another story. But as of right now, I think their regular season will be fine. They'll win between 90 and 95 games. Something like that. As far as the postseason, my confidence is probably under a 5. It's probably between like a 3 and a 4. Because that's just what they've earned with how they are in the playoffs. We saw what the lineup did in the postseason. I unfortunately think we'll see a lot of the same in another postseason. We'll see what happens. And just overall, I mean, it's the same team from the second half of 25, except especially come the postseason, if he's still healthy, hope he is, that Cole will be here. That's really it. Ryan Weathers will be too, but are we using Ryan Weathers as a huge supporting piece of the Yankees being legendary as opposed to just being meh or bad in the playoffs? No, I don't think we are. At least as of right now. Again, I hope I eat my words on that. That'd be great. But I guess those are my individual rankings for all the reasons I've given 10,000 times already on this episode and past episodes, so I won't repeat myself again. Let's hear some thoughts that you guys had. Had a bunch of replies, so I'm going to, for the last Yankees-related social media segment, I'm glad there were so many replies. I'll try to get to as many as I can. Can't guarantee I'll get to all of them, but I'll try. Let's start off with at Lee_W18. Lee says, define success. Okay, so he's one of those who said that. Fair enough, Lee. Said, I am 10 that they will make the playoffs. Yeah, that's fair. 7 that they win the division. Okay. I put that between like a 5 and a 7, personally. I guess I'll say a 6 on that, 5 or a 6. 5 that they get a bye. Well, I mean, I would probably put just the same ranking as winning the division because, if they do win the division, there's probably a good chance that they're one of the 2 top teams. So I guess I'd leave that the same personally. A 3 that they win it all, I think it's literally a 0 because the Dodgers are winning again. I just don't know what to say. I've said that many times the last bunch of weeks. I said it since the offseason began, and even more so after they signed Diaz and Tucker and made even more moves, despite already being definitively the top team in baseball. So I hate to say that and just come across like that instantly, but yeah, winning it all, that's an absolute 0 for me, literally a 0. But I appreciate the reply, and I do agree with a lot of the rankings, give or take, with the other points that you made. Let's go to @RMNY1976, saying, same team, same results, around 90 wins and an embarrassing playoff exit. Success is winning a championship. Any other outcome is a failure, and I have 0 confidence this team can win a championship as it is constructed and managed. It's hard to debate that. It really is. It's hard to debate that. It really is mostly the same team. And yeah, we're not saying they have 100 losses. They'll still have a nice season for themselves, at least a decent season to make the playoffs. But it's what happens after that. I know everybody loves to mention, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. It hasn't really been much of a crapshoot for almost a decade now. It's just, especially the better part of the last half decade with how every single playoff appearance for the Yankees ends. So we'll just put that out there. And yeah, I feel how I feel about Aaron Boone as well. He goes out there gun-ho on the radio, proudly saying that he swears up and down it's him making the decisions and Brian Cashman's not calling him up on the phone and dictating anything. So I think that's just even more of an indictment on him as a manager personally. He says it like it's he's proud of it and he's this brilliant decision maker. It just makes him look even worse, to be honest. But regardless, I'm sure there are other people who give their input. But yeah, he's out here swearing up and down that it is vastly him. So that's just terrific. Absolutely terrific. Winning a championship, yeah, as long as the Dodgers are what they are, that there's also just that fact, which kind of makes everything else sort of a moot point when you think about it, but that's the deal. @Daryl1960 says, I would give it a 6. I do not like the lineup. I'm more concerned about who can produce on a consistent basis. I know what Judge can do. I'm not sure about everyone else. The rotation, can they hold it down until Cole and Rodon get back? The bullpen, I'm a little worried. Reasonable concerns. It's a lot of what I have already raised. I hear you, Daryl. @ScottJS says 4 tops. No improvement from last year. I'm not optimistic they go any further than last year. Well, it's hard to argue because, again, if you don't use the fact that Cole will be back in like June, there's really not many other differences. The lineup's exactly the same, and then you added Ryan Weathers and Angel Chivilli about a week or so ago. Those are your differences. So, yeah, just being honest. Being honest, guys. @Javian114 says 7. I do think the team is overall solid. The bullpen was a big issue from last year. Williams blew too many games, etc. They could have easily won the division, and I feel they would have definitely went further in the postseason with home field. Yeah, and like I said, that's completely a fair point to raise, that if not for literally someone like Williams single-handedly with what he did in the first couple of months, it could be different with home field. But the Blue Jays also still took a game at Yankee Stadium. They still did. So it's just tough to say because the series didn't go the full way. So it still would have been 2 games each. I don't know. That's the logic that I track. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. They still played. It was a 4-game series, and they still played 2 at each stadium. That's how I look at it. So even if you assume that it's the same and they just play 2 at Yankee Stadium to start the series as opposed to in the middle of the series, yeah, maybe playing at home could garner better results and change how the rest of the series goes for when they go on the road. Maybe they're more confident on the road, they take a game on the road. But still, it's 2 games in each stadium through the first 4 games. They didn't even get to the 5th game. That could be the determining factor, that 1 extra game in 1 other baseball stadium. So that's just the logic that I track personally. Could have been different. I don't know. We're never going to know. We're never going to know because they got embarrassed. They got embarrassed. So, up next we have at NY Yankees for Life 93 saying 0. Damn. Okay. I think that warrants another Farouk damn, don't you think? Yeah, there you go. At Bill Brown 35 says 8. They were a 97-win team if Williams was league average. Winning the division and then having home field against the Jays is a much better postseason position. Listen, again, my same thoughts as to the last response. Fair to say, but then there's also the other side to that coin. But yeah, I still can't believe, looking back on it, like how laughably awful Devin was until like the last month and a half of the season or so. I mean, it was like as bad as I've ever seen anybody pitch, maybe except for that really big time window there when Clay Holmes did what he did. But it is just about as bad as anything I'd ever seen. Just being honest. At Arnhem H says right now 6.5, and if the injured players, mainly Cole, are actually whole and playing effectively by May 1st, an 8. Well, first of all, I'll give you a nice little sound effect for that rhyme there. It was a good rhyme. I want to give appreciation where it's warranted. But yeah, Cole's not going to be back by May 1st, so you can just get that out of your head. Again, they say May or June, so it's not going to be May 1st. Rodon will probably be back by May 1st, or around May 1st. That'll probably be around the time, give or take, when he returns. But Cole will not be back. So the rotation will still be in better hands when Rodon's back at that capacity, but Cole is not going to be back by then. I'd be shocked if he was back by then. But I think 6.5 is mostly fair. Even without them for the first month or two, I think the season could still be decent. They could still win between 90 and 95 games, and I still think that's possible. Again, it's mainly what happens afterwards. At Biggie_Rob says, I am at a 7.5. We will be good. We will compete to get to the World Series, but we are behind the Dodgers by a wide margin. Yeah, everybody is. I hate to break it to you. Everybody is. At Yankees 44 Giants, 8. We need bullpen help. All right, pretty optimistic. But yeah, I think that seems to be the general consensus with a lot of people, that they just failed to get the proper bullpen help, and I would agree. At Beecher_SR says, we'll make playoffs and lose in the first round. Listen, it's hard to argue with those claims because, yeah, you'll say they make the playoffs and have a successful regular season. Again, regular season's not the problem. But the playoffs, they can always just never help but make fools of themselves in the end. It's just inevitable, unfortunately. Never works out. And people will mention 2024. Oh, they made the World Series. What about that? What? Hello? You forget the decision at the end of Game 1 and then the 5th inning of Game 5? Are you kidding? Claiming they didn't humiliate themselves just because they made the World Series? Look what happened. I don't know. It's just so funny having these kinds of discussions with people sometimes on social media. At RatmanX says 5 to maybe 6. They have a shot at the division, but they're still not a championship caliber team. That's fair. That's a fair response. They have a shot at the division. I personally think the Blue Jays will probably make another run at it because people forget to mention, too, that the Blue Jays were like mid at best for the first couple of months of last year until they found their stride. Now they just missed the World Series within literal inches, and I mean that literally with the IKF play. And I should say they missed a title, not missed the World Series. They were in the World Series. They missed a title by literal inches. But I don't see them being that bad, at least to start the year again. People are talking about like the swing and how that was like amazing for them to ultimately take the division, how close the Yankees still were and whatnot. Well, yeah, but you also expect the Blue Jays to be like bad to start the year at least. I think they're going to be more consistent throughout, and that's going to make them more formidable this year as opposed to last year. Yeah, they went on that ridiculous run to be what they were. After those first couple of months were like sort of mid or bad at times. But, I mean, look, they could even that out more and just be more consistently good throughout. And then you still got a really big competitor for first place. I think the Red Sox made some good signings too. Yeah, they let Bregman go, which was huge, but I mean, they got Ranger Suarez, and they did some things to improve their team otherwise. I know Red Sox fans would debate that and say that they could have gotten more. I agree. I definitely agree. But they're still not a bad team. They're good, and I think they're on the up and up, and Roman Anthony will be back and whatnot, but it's not going to be a cakewalk for the Yankees. I do think that they have a shot at the division. They do. But yeah, not a championship caliber team, that's for sure. I agree, especially with the Dodgers being what they are. It's a fair statement. It is. At Yo-Yo Bet says 8 out of 10. Cole is back and Stanton's healthy. Judge will be Judge. They'll be right in the mix. The Red Sox got worse. The Blue Jays got worse. Other than letting Bregman go, I don't believe that the Red Sox actually got completely worse than where they were at the end of last year, even in their brief postseason stint. Roman Anthony's going to be back, and they got Ranger Suarez to improve what's already a really good rotation, 1 through 4. So the Red Sox, in some ways, are still pretty good. They're still a respectable opponent, and in the regular season, they manhandled the Yankees last year like much of the division overall did. People forget that at times, I think. And yeah, the Yankees ultimately eliminated them, and they deserve the credit for that, and to rag on the Red Sox and their fans for it, yeah, absolutely. It was the first time the Yankees eliminated the Red Sox from the playoffs in over 20 years. So yeah, it's great. I enjoyed it as much as anybody else did. So I'm not denying that. But let's not make it seem like the Red Sox went from, okay to, terrible. No, they regressed with letting Bregman go, and maybe they didn't improve in certain areas the way that they wanted to, or that some fans were hoping they would. But they still made moves elsewhere to be better. Ranger Suarez was a big get for the rotation, and Roman Anthony's going to be back at first base and back in that lineup. So I don't think it's a guarantee to say the Red Sox got definitively majorly worse. I don't completely agree with that. Could they have done more? Yeah. Did the Blue Jays let Bichette go and also not get Tucker? They basically missed out on both guys, which I think almost everybody was expecting them, if not definitively everybody was expecting them to get at least one of those two guys on their team for 2026. Yeah, there's a big loss. They got Cease, who can be very up or down. I understand that. But if he's up, then it's going to improve the rotation even more than it already is good. The lineup's still going to be respectable. I know a lot of guys had to go on a fairy tale run there to do what they did. I mean, Kirk has been shown for years now that he has that offensive potential, so not so much him. But guys like Ernie Clement and Barger and a lot of guys that came out of the woodwork that nobody was expecting were really terrific to put them on the run that they went on. Absolutely. But I don't think they got, majorly worse. Yeah, losing Bichette's a big thing. I mean, people were saying that there was a lot to be desired with his defense at shortstop, and that's why you saw him being played at second at the end there, and he has his injury history. Yeah, absolutely. Big bat to lose in the lineup, but I still think that offense is still scary. And arguably, I don't think you could argue the Yankees just stayed the same. I mean, people will argue that Cole's going to be back in June. But definitely at least to start the year, you could say the Yankees are legit the same. Except for Ryan Weathers. They're the same. Stop. They're the same. And yeah, maybe the Red Sox got worse, the Blue Jays got worse, but the Blue Jays were better than the Yankees. In every way, especially head-to-head. Which is what ultimately determined them still taking the division in the end, of course, and the embarrassment in the DS in a couple of those games. Just being absolutely manhandled. So the Yankees stayed the same. Blue Jays maybe got a tick worse. Still, the Blue Jays are very threatening, though. And the Red Sox gave the Yankees a run for their money in that 3-game series. And they took care of the Yankees pretty well in the regular season. So, yeah, I wouldn't bank on those for comfort all that much. And Stanton being healthy, I love the guy, but we'll see how long it lasts. At Rifleman Chuck says 90 and 72 out in division series. Again, it's hard to argue. It's just how it ends a lot of the time. Just they don't see it all the way through in the playoffs. People will acknowledge a good regular season because, again, that's not the problem. It's just telling the truth. It's the playoffs that we're suspicious of. At Kenny Porton says 9, tied for the best record in the AL with Toronto. Without Garrett Cole, they've got just as good a chance as anyone to win the World Series this year. Yeah, no, they don't. Anyone who says that they have as good a chance as the Dodgers, they're just not being truthful. They're not. Could a fairy tale moment happen where the Yankees somehow overtake them in the World Series? Like, for instance, more than half their roster is injured, or everybody morbidly underperforms by some absolute miracle? Sure, fine. But are we really saying that the Yankees have as good a chance as the Dodgers to win the World Series? Are we really saying that with a straight face? Come on, guys. Come on. You can be hopeful in your team without just completely deluding yourself. I mean, come on. It's not even me being a negative Nelly or whatever you want to call me, toxic fan, fake fan. It's just being honest. You look at either team top to bottom, like, come on, bro. What do you take us for? Fools? There's no need to blatantly lie like that. I understand the best record in the AL without Garrett Cole. Like, yeah, that's a valid point. Like, after that, though, like, good a chance as anyone to win the World Series? No. Because then you're going into the territory of the playoffs and what they continue to do year in and year out in the playoffs. It's not going to happen, especially given where the Dodgers are. It's just not. So I have to respectfully, highly disagree with that second half of that reply there. At Yankees, Lauren says 7-ish. If we can get Cole back mid-season, strong seasons from Grish, Bellinger, and Jazz, Rice, and Wells are settled, and we don't need to worry about Williams blowing games left and right, we'll have a good year. You see, that's just the thing. And Lauren, listen, I respect the opinion. No crapping on it. I have not been disrespectful towards really anybody if they want to be optimistic. And I'm optimistic about the regular season overall, because the regular season, again, is not the problem. But even so, in that same breath, like all these people who are just being as optimistic as they can, and again, more power to you. But I just wish you guys would realize how many ifs are having to fall into place for your scenarios to be a reality. It's just almost sad. Like if we can get Cole back midseason, if that goes well, if we get a strong season again from Grish, if we get Bellinger back with doing what he did last year, if Jazz this, if Rice this, if Wells this, if. Like, listen, I get it. I understand. But that's why we raise the concerns, too, because of how many ifs there are. That's all. Not crapping on you at all, Lauren, believe me. I respect your opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. And I'm sure you acknowledge some of the points that I'm saying. I'm sure people do, even amidst their optimism, be like, yeah, that's true. Because in a lot of cases, more than one thing can be true at the same time. That's the case about a lot of things, just about life in general. But and you are right about not having Williams around anymore. That's an example of addition by subtraction. Yeah. But just again, particularly with the lineup, as you yourself just said, so many things have to go right. So many things. It's insanity. I hope they do. All right, let's do up next. We have my good buddy James at Rebirth Chaos 09 says 7. I think if healthy and Cole comes back, Yankees should still be one of the best teams in the American League. Keywords, if healthy. Yeah, well, that's been the case with a lot of things regarding the Yankees the last handful of years. Last couple of years, they have not had too many injuries, though, like as far as quantity, not so much quality, because you could argue quality-wise they very much have, because Cole missed all of last year. Schmidt missed a chunk of last year and is probably going to be out the rest of this year, too. Look at what happened with Oswaldo Cabrera last year, and he's going to be back in 26, so that'll be fun. So, yeah, the quality of injuries at times has still been bad, but like the quantity of injuries, at least in comparison to years like 2019 and then between like 2020 to 2022 or 3, like compared to those years, last couple of years the Yankees have actually been very, very good in that department, to be honest. So hopefully, if healthy, yeah, that we'll see them continue on that same track that they've been on quantity-wise for injuries the last couple of years. Hopefully, that'll be the case. So I agree. Obviously, Cole's a big X factor. Just like I said for the bullpen before, Duvall's a big X factor. We'll see. But the regular season, I mean, yeah, anything could happen with that too from a bad standpoint, but I think their regular season will still be fine because their constant performances in the regular season are indicative of that. The regular season's not their problem. It really never has been. So that's the deal there. Let's finish off with our usual final two. First up, let's do my mom's reply at Julia Gina Scudero. She says, "I'd like to congratulate you on 7 years of amazing content." Thank you, Mom. "Hoping your live venture will be a huge success and a lot of fun. I think the Yankees won't get much further than they did last year, as it's the same team more or less. If they make the playoffs, it will probably end there, as it has many times. I hope I'm wrong, but I honestly have seen this so many times, it's what has become the norm. We have a manager who thinks we have a great team constantly. No better players needed, according to him. We shall see. Thanks for all the great podcasts and enjoyment throughout the years." Very proud of you. Well, thank you, Mom. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of the work, too. And 7 years of the content, it's just amazing that much time has flown. We'll talk more about this in a couple of weeks with the last episode of this format. Plenty of time to reflect on the show and talk about everything. And we'll spend probably a chunk of the entire episode next time talking about that before venturing into the live streaming. I obviously have high hopes for that. And think it's going to be a lot of fun, too. Like I've said, I'm just thrilled to do it and soiree into that territory and give that a shot. We'll see where it goes. As far as the Yankees sentiment, yeah, that's how most of us feel, and it's just that's the way it is. You even heard Boone talking about how 2025 was an even tougher pill to swallow than 2024, even when they made the World Series, because he felt better about the group of guys in 25 than any other squad he's had, and he felt like they were in a good place injury-wise with that. And with that, I agree, except for Cole being out mainly. But with that, I agree, actually, because, again, like I said before, quantity-wise, they've had amongst the least amount of injuries. But, yeah, it's just a guy that thinks he's always got, like, the best squad in the league. And listen, he's not going to go out there and say anything else. What else is he supposed to say at the end of the day? He is the manager of the Yankees. He's going to go out there and talk up his club. He's not going to say, oh, yeah, I think this team is better and that team's better. He's just not going to say that. I understand that. I'm not that stupid. But, yeah, I mean, it's just always, yeah. Even if they make no improvements, I think we've made some moves to be better, even though they've really done little to nothing as far as external additions, new blood. So, yeah, I hope I'm wrong, too, in saying all of this, like I've said, but we'll see. It's the same old thing. Last but not least, my fiance at Vic Salimo. Victoria says, 7. I just think we're going to see a lot of the same where they have a good regular season, and then the postseason just ends in some sort of embarrassment. Yep, that's pretty much it. Can't say much better than that without going into detail. That's the sentiment. I mean, prove us wrong in 26, Yankees, if you want us to feel something else. Because I gave the evidence for feeling that way on the last episode. Going all the way back to 2017, pretty much. 2017 wasn't an embarrassing elimination. It was just an unfortunate elimination, mainly stemming from one of the game's biggest scandals ever. But then really since after that, it just has not been pretty for how every Yankees postseason or season with the ones they haven't made the postseason, like 23, for instance, it has not been pretty how any of it ends at all. It hasn't just been, you could say, we played really good and really hard and the other team just got the better of us. No, it's been embarrassing in a lot of ways. So it's just hard to feel anything else, especially when you have mostly the same. Really mostly the same, 95% of it from the second half of last year. It's just how we feel. It's how I feel. It's how a lot of people feel, guys. I'm not alone in this. You see it for yourself. You probably see it elsewhere around social media majorly, not even just from my listeners or the people who interact with my posts on social media. That's the way it is, guys. Hopefully, again, they prove it wrong. But, guys, as of right now, thank you to each and every one of you who interacted. There were still people I couldn't get to. I know there's really no definitive time limit. I don't care to keep an episode a certain length because this is the second to last episode of this format anyway, so I only care so much how long the episodes go at this point. But I think we've been yapping long enough, don't you think? It's good to get back to doing another social media segment, though. Again, this is going to be the last Yankees-related Yapping Yankees social media segment with this format of this pre-taped traditional podcast format. So I really, really appreciate you guys participating in this social media segment today, more so than we've seen in a social media segment in a while, because I've been bad with posting them and giving people the right amount of time to really put together a cogent answer, and just giving people time to reply to it at all, really. Like, I'll post it and an hour later I'll start recording because I realize, oh my God, I waited too long to post this. So it's really my fault. But I gave this one more breathing room, and we got the good old interaction that we used to get, like from a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago and back, on the social media segment throughout the 7 years of the show. So thank you, as always, to each and every one of you who interacted. Next week for the social media segment, there's going to be a live streaming related question, just to look into the future, to the next step of my content in live streaming after next week's final Yapping Yankees episode of this pre-taped podcast format. So get some of your thoughts on that next week. But it was so much fun to wrap up officially the last Yankees-related Yapping Yankees social media segment. That was awesome. Thank you guys for expanding on your thoughts as we get ready for pitchers and catchers to report in 3 days. Again, 3 little days. That is it. So spring training's just around the corner, so it's about time we start asking these questions, looking ahead to the regular season. But with all that being said, my friends, again, that is about it for episode 274 today of Yapping Yankees. Remember to follow me on all socials, as always. My Facebook fan page is Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. And my Instagram handle is Mike Scuds97. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on, my friends. That is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever it is you usually do to spread the love about the show and spread the word like you always do such a great job at doing, my friends. And if you have missed any past Yapping Yankees episodes, every single episode is available. Episode 1 all the way up to 274 today. They're all available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you're more of a YouTube listener like myself, that is totally fine, and I actually recommend you do that in light of the imminent live streams coming up that will be exclusively on YouTube, at least to start, once Yapping Yankees of this format is done. So I think it wouldn't be the worst idea to acquaint yourself with YouTube if you're not already. But just a little heads up, if you are more of a YouTube listener for listening to Yapping Yankees, episodes 34 up to 274 today can be found on there. Didn't upload 1 through 33 on YouTube yet as of that time. So 34 to 274 are available on there. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again on Sunday, February 22nd, 2 weeks from now, when I come at you with the final Yapping Yankees episode of this traditional podcasting format, episode 275. It has been a hell of a ride, my friends, but there is still one more to go, and I hope you are looking as forward to it as I am. But until then, the usuals. Hang in there. Be patient. Please stay safe. Look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week like I always tell you to do every single episode, my friends. And let that excitement begin to build, not only for the live streaming and the future of my content beyond the final episode of Yapping Yankees in just a couple of weeks, but also because the next time we speak, spring training games will have begun.
Yay!
Good to hear from Gojo again. All right, my friends. Hope you all enjoyed the Super Bowl by the time you're listening to this. And as in past years, let the release of this Yapping Yankees episode be yet another reminder that it is officially baseball's turn. And on that note, until we yap again, take care and let's go Yanks.